Hi, I'm Megan.
I'm Colin, and this is
Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
Brought to you by Time to Pet and Pet Perennials. Christina Walker, the top dog pet sitter, has been in the industry for 15 years now. Over the years, she's learned how to set up good boundaries, how she's learned to grow relationships in her community. And today, she talks about what it was like transitioning out of her corporate America job into her very own pet sitting business all those years ago. Let's get started.
Thank you, Colin, and so much for having me today. As a fan of the show, this is so exciting. I love listening to all the different interviewers and all of the tips and things from poop scoop to all kinds of things. So this is exciting. I'm Christina Walker with Top Dog Pet Sitter. Top Dog Pet Sitter is located in Villa Rica, Georgia, which is west of Atlanta. So we are 25 miles to Alabama. Oh. So we're way out there in the rural area, just like right there by Alabama, tucked away. So my husband and I do this full time. And so it's been real exciting. So that's a little bit about me and the company.
That's really cool. And, to know that you're doing it in a more rural setting, I think that's a little more unique. I know a lot of people work in typical high density, high population areas. So what has that been like working out in a more rural populated area?
We actually love it because our drive is usually really pretty. We're kind of going through surface roads and lots of trees and, sometimes farmland. So it's not for us, it's not as hustle and bustle of, right there in the city. So there's not as much traffic. So that's been kind of nice. So we really like it. We do try to cluster our visits. So, cause we, had to get a little more creative being in the rural area. So we had, we have certain cities that we service. So we try to do those cities together and then go to the next city and go to the next city. But we've learned all the back roads. So if there is something going on, we'll just hop on the surface roads and, or the highway, but it's been great. We've gotten to meet all kinds of different people, and that's how we started doing small farm animals, because being out in the rural area. So, hey, can you take care of my chicken? Yeah.
No, I love that. Cause that does kind of just inherent in where you are. It does kind of change the services that you're able to offer. So like what kind of services are you providing?
We do primarily do drop-in visits. So that's when people are out of town on vacation or just gone. Well, we do have some daily dog walks because we have people in different professions. It's usually either, let out in the fenced-in yard or an actual walk. So we do have some that we do service, which is very, great to have that. And with us having, different areas, we have some that are a little bit more in the city, and then we have the rural areas. We're able to kind of offer that. We also offer, we do the daily dog walks. We do cat sitting, of course, and bird sitting, exotic pet care, the small farm animals that I told you about. We do pet waste removal, commercial and residential, pet transportation. That's something we have been doing a little bit more of, and wedding services. So that's just kind of a snapshot of some of the stuff we offer.
How did the wedding services get started? Because I think that's such a unique thing to offer.
Yeah, it got started. One of our clients wanted to incorporate her dogs in her wedding. And so she reached out to us and was like, hey, is that something you could help us with? We really want to have our dogs in our wedding. And of course we said yes. And we thought this would be so fun. And so it was a great experience. And so we got to be part of their day, and we were kind of more the pet handler. So we just were there to make sure that pets were, they're gone to the bathroom, and we would had them on leashes and took care of them and passed them on to the wedding party. And from there, I learned a whole lot, like what supplies I needed, like poop bags and food for me and things I wasn't, because I had never done this before. So I was starving the first time. I was like, okay, I need to get some food, So it was fun though. It was so great. And of course, to see the pets that, we pet sit forward and down the aisle, it was so adorable. And so it got us thinking, this could be something we could offer for other people, getting married. And so it's been fun. We've done a few weddings and it's been real exciting.
No, I love hearing that, and touching on the fact of like those little things that you don't always think about like, oh yeah, I have to eat in order for this to work. Like,
yeah. I was there like 6 hours. I'm like, yeah, like I probably needed to. I mean, I figured the parts of it out, but yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, well, it's a reminder of like these quote little things. Like you just have to experience that. You've got to. It's this learning process of every time you add or change something, you're never going to be 100% prepared for it entirely, and that's okay, right? And just to roll with it and go, okay, I'll write that next time. Bring sandwich or whatever, like it's. You also offer care for exotic pets. What kind of pets do you typically care for in that world?
Yeah, well, it kind of got started when I had a client wanted us to watch their son's frogs. So we were, watching their dogs and everything. And he's like, oh, can you watch our son's frogs? And I said, well, sure. I've never watched them, but I can learn. And so the frogs were in a cage. And there was like a bottle that needed to be filled with water because it kind of put some mist into like a fog kind of into the tank, and it kind of gave it a mist. And so it was really kind of neat and fascinating, all the different care for the different species. And so we thought this is kind of neat. And then I, of course, gave the frog some crickets, but it wasn't as scary as I thought. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be handling crickets. But it was like this plastic long tube that just went into this container, and then you pulled it out, and then you just dropped it into the frog container. So it wasn't. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that was kind of where I kind of started doing it. And then, I had another client that had a turtle, and it was just really neat to make sure their habitat was clean and the way it was supposed to be, and, give it the fresh vegetables and water. And so it was just really fun. And I learned, of course, I educated myself a little bit more on each time we did some. And then, then we had some lizards and, chameleons and different stuff. And so each species is taken care of differently, and some of them have to have a heat lamp. And so it's just kind of like, when you're going through the dog and the cats and they have, okay, this is Fido needs this, and, and stuff like that. It was kind of the same thing, but with the exotic pets. And we've done a few snakes, of course, not poisonous. Yeah. So they're in the cage and the tank or wherever, and we would just change out the water I think the biggest one we've ever taken care of, it was a very gigantic, it was a very large tortoise. And when I first met the client, it was walking around in the backyard, and I thought, wow, like I've never seen anything like this. And of course I told her all that, when I first started doing this. But when we pet sit, it was in a huge enclosure in the basement, with sand. And so it was like in this big area. And so we just came and gave it fresh veggies and checked the water. And she showed us some things, and it was just really fascinating. So that's why I make sure to list it. So people who do have exotic pets, lizards and different things, they know that we can do that. And of course, if there's something we can't handle, we'll tell them. But it's just been really neat. And it's just been a really kind of fun doing different types of pets.
Yeah, they do provide a unique kind of experience for us, the pet sitter, right? We're like, okay, we're doing dogs, doing cats, lots of cuddles, lots of stuff, right? And then you can't really cuddle with the reptiles and amphibians, but it's just how unique and different that care is. I remember we took care of somebody's lizard one time, and in the grand scheme of things, it was probably the most boring thing ever because the lizard just sat on its rock and ate its mealworms, and that was it. But it was so like,
Right.
whoa, this is so much fun. Like, it was so cool because
Yeah,
it adds a little bit more variety and spice to that experience.
exactly.
And we get to learn more too. It sounds like, as you are taking on these new clients, there's a lot of research, a lot of education that goes into that before you show up to start taking care of them so that you are fully knowledgeable in that. You recently celebrated 15 years in business, which is amazing. That is so cool. What keeps you going after 15 years?
This is our baby. I mean, the business and that we created this, it's just been amazing. And just knowing that we get to go outside and just, it's very therapeutic. We get up and we just get to go out and see all the pets and it just, is there something different when it's your business and, you're working on it? It just kind of keeps you going. It's just like, wow, this is cool. We're doing this, this is our thing, and we just love it. We've learned so much along the way. And it's just, it's something really cool about actually being outside, whether it's sitting outside working or just, walking outside and stuff. It's just been great doing this.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment. And there's always something to do. And the different facets of it, as you mentioned, of the getting to be outside, traveling the cool back roads, getting to experience the awesome people that you're meeting and take care of the pets. And like, there's all these different things of if one starts to get boring, there's always something else that will not be boring. And you kind of rotate through these phases.
Yes.
And you say we, because you work with your husband. So what's that like, working together?
Well, actually, it's greit's great. We get to see each other more, obviously, than when we were in corporate, and we get to coordinate sometimes lunch. It's a lot more interactive, which has been we love it. We balance each other out. My husband Mike does our accounting and the book stuff and the marketing, and of course, pet sits too. Yeah. And I do a lot of the day-to-day and different things. So we kind of are constantly collaborating and running ideas off each other. And, if things come up, we're talking about it, how to do things. And so it's been great. I mean, we just kind of, we're a partnership and a team. And if we chat on the phone, he's playing with the kid and a cat, and I'm talking, throwing a ball to the dog or something. So it just kind of keeps things exciting. And if something's going on, we're, talking about it. So it's been great. We've been able to do a lot together. So a lot more than, before. We can kind of coordinate our times better because we obviously know what's going on, So a lot easier than, I got a meeting today, what meeting, we're here,
Well, yeah, so you're balancing this, you're working together really closely together, you're collaborating. I love that word. Collaborating when you're working together, with your spouse or your significant other, because it really is this ability to utilize the other person's strengths and recognize them and recognize your own weaknesses and collaborate to overcome a problem or to get a really cool thing out the door. How do you find balancing the business aspect with personal life, and taking off the business people hats at the dinner table or however that works?
Yeah, well, there's a variety of ways. One of the things I have done personally, I've taken the social media apps off my phone, and I've even blocked the websites off my phone. I know that sounds crazy, but that way, because you just, pop a little bit here, a little bit there. And so when I get on social media, it's on my laptop, and then I just quickly, intentionally get on, and then I'm off. And so that has really helped me, just with my time. And then another thing we've done is there's a 2-hour block a day where we do not have any pet sit scheduled. For us, it's between 4 and 6. So it's not even an option for the clients to schedule that block. And that's something consistent that we know we can look forward to every single day 4 to 6, that's our time. That's, scheduling appointments, taking a nap, having dinner, normal things. So it's been great. I mean, just that you would just think that one little thing has just made all the difference. So we that's one thing we've done. And then that's consistent. And of course, we've set office hours. So that way, clients know, after a certain hour, we're not going to respond. And then that way, and of course, our phones are on do not disturb after hours. We don't have to worry about that. And we also utilize OmniCall receptionist, and they answer our calls 24/7. So my stress level is almost zero now when it comes to phones and phone calls. Nice. I used to be like, as soon as I walk downstairs to grab something, the phone would ring, and I'd be like, running upstairs, like, oh my gosh, and fumbling with the phone, like, hi, hello, And so, and I didn't realize how much stress that was causing me. And so I don't have to worry about that now. That has gone. All my phone calls are being answered professionally, and they send me a text or an email, so I don't have to worry about that. So when I've kind of set those boundaries of, okay, here's my time and business hours and everything, then we can, schedule our pockets of time that work for us. When we try to unplug, because obviously we work together and we live together. So we try to, when we're off, we're just off. Like if we're just going to watch a movie or relax, read, whatever, that's just off. And unless there's something really going on, we try to catch ourselves if we're talking business or whatever, so we can kind of have that balance and stuff. So that has really helped us is just kind of being more intentional with our time. Because before I set some of those things in place, it was just like things were happening all the time, and you're just going and going, and things are just, you don't even have a second because you don't have anything to look forward to. But if I've got these 2 hours, that I won't have pet sits, I can make appointments, I can do certain things, and then setting the boundaries of the time. And I think, with a lot of people, after COVID, that kind of gave us that reset. It was a really nice reset that we needed. And it kind of put us into like a slower pace. We're stopping to smell the roses more, enjoying life more. And we've been sitting outside, working more, just little things that have just made such a difference. And it's just being intentional. A lot of times we find ourselves saying, I don't have time, but well, what were you doing with that time? And so that's kind of where we've helped us with.
Yeah. Well, and hearing that evolution of time of how you have put these boundaries into place, it sounds like it wasn't maybe not easy to put those boundaries into place. How did you, what was some of the first signs that you needed those or to get you to get those in place?
Well, you don't realize how often you check your phone. I'm sure that's something everybody talks about. And so that's where, you always think, I got to check it. I got to look at it. You really don't. You can just set a certain time to look at it. And so that was that discipline that I did for me. That's why I completely I don't even get on it at all anymore on my phone. I just do it on the computer and like the social media. And then that way I'm more intentional with it. And I just get on mostly for business and, look around for personal or whatever. And then I'm gone. And then and then I don't realize I don't miss it as much. And then when I do quickly get on, I can just quickly be intentional and get out. And then I don't have to waste time doing certain things. And pretty much, the business hours, that was one hard thing, but COVID kind of helped us with that. That was something that we had been talking about forever and ever and ever and ever. And then after that, we're like, we are implementing that right now because it was like, we needed that, because I'm a night owl. So sometimes I would reply to certain things later at night. But then that's setting that standard, for the clients and different things like that. And so we wanted to make sure not to do that. And so that's why we set those boundaries. And it's also for us as well as the client, just to let us know, hey, we're not on call. But it was important to do that, especially the 2-hour block. That has made such a difference because when do you make appointments? When people need pet sits 7 days a week, 365 days a year, pretty much any time block you allow. So you have to set something for yourself, because otherwise it's wide open. And then that was what was happening. I was just going around. And so it was like, okay, I've got to set this here. Let's set this here. And wow, it's just been really good. And it was a process.
Yeah, it is. And it's these little things that are going to build up over time that are really going to set yourself up for success. And, you mentioned earlier about how, quote, you said things happen, like things just happened whenever you didn't have these boundaries in place. And it's like, you're just kind of going through the day and things were happening to you and you kind of rushing through and figuring out where to go. And now this intentionality has come in, this purposeful attention and directness in your actions is going, no, things don't just happen. I am making them happen, and they are not happening unless I let them, right? And taking that control back away from outside influences, away from the clients who are contacting you at 10 p.m. demanding your attention, demanding something, right? You're like, no, office hours. Nope, sorry.
Absolutely. And, I've, because I work, as a team, my husband and I can delegate things. And so I've been able to, he's been able to take on some tasks that I was trying to rush and do, that realized I don't need to rush and do some of these things. And so he was able to do like scheduling appointments, or maybe even responding to client messages, or just little things. And so taking a lot of that off of my plate, and invoicing and a lot of things. Now I can focus on other things.
Have you heard about Time to Pet? Susan from the Pet Gal has this to say.
Time to Pet has helped us grow exponentially. We believe the platform's features make us by far more professional than other companies who use conventional dashboards. They are the software gurus constantly developing and improving the platform based on user feedback. This decision was a good one.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Our listeners get 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. Somebody's listening to this and they're working with their spouse, they're working with their significant other. What advice would you give to them so that they can have a good working relationship and and maintain that personal relationship?
Yeah, I think just listening to each other and just knowing that you both, you're both working together on things, and just setting, just for us, I mean, I set the schedule and we talk about things and just kind of going through, well, maybe not this or maybe not that. And so a lot of times it's, working together on things. And so that's kind of where I think sometimes we tend to just do things yourself and you're just running off and you forget to communicate things. So trying to make sure you also communicate, because I'm bad about that. I'm like, quickly do something and run off. And then he's like, what are we doing? I'm like, oh yeah, blah, 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 So there's obviously going to be that in there. So, so just making sure you communicate, and then of course you have, you can appreciate things, when you have those times, because, it's interesting how you can resolve certain things too, because you're working together and you handle it right off the bat, so just communication, I think, is the big thing. Because you're both doing your own thing, but then you have to keep, communicating what's going on. And sometimes you will do things together, because we do drop-in visits. So we're, he's over there and I'm over here, and then we come home and or a lot of times he's working from home, and then, so like he'll be working on things. And so you just communication, I think, is a big thing. So that way everybody's on the same page of what's happening and stuff like that. No,
it really does. It's amazing how much just a little bit of communication, like how that impacts. I know for Megan and I, when we, we'll have a day of disagreement and we're not exactly friendly to one another, but because we work together, we have to talk to each other, and it almost like forces us to resolve the other stuff so that we can get down to business and get this moving. And like it, when you're communicating it like that, and you're going, okay, like I've got to put this aside, let's get over this real quick so that we can keep moving on. And because I've got to talk to you about this, I've got to talk to you about scheduling this dog, and I know I'm really angry at you right now, but this client needs help. Let's solve this together. Like, it does kind of force you to continually come back and resolve that stuff pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have our morning routine down pat. I mean, we got the coffee pot set, what we're going to have for breakfast. Pack a big old cooler of snacks and things. So we don't go to fast food or anything. We just a bunch of healthy snacks and foods. And so we just like a, madhouse. We just throw all things in the cooler and, and but we have a system, and it's interesting how it can all work if you got a system. But there's, like you said, there's times where we're just like, move out of my way, I got to go, but like you said, as long as you don't go to bed mad kind of thing, as long as you resolve it when you need to and you talk about it when you need to. Sure. It works. And it's also, you have someone in your corner, you have someone there for you and you can work through things. And we all, like I said, we have we're different personalities and, we different, I'm more ADHD and he's more ADD, so we kind of, can work together on that. So I think using those differences make the difference, really.
That's really good. Using the difference makes the difference. Like it really does. Knowing that you have strengths that I don't, I have strengths that you don't. That's good. And remember, yes. Right, I do have a partner. I do have somebody in my corner that is rooting for me to succeed here. Like I need to remember that on those crazy days. Yes. And I'm that for the person as well. Like that's you do have to keep that forefront of mind of like, I'm not in this alone. When you're working with a partner, I'm just inherently not. Like they're here with me. You mentioned you're working together, you're seeing a lot more each other than you were when you were in corporate America. So what was that shift like out of corporate America? What was the catalyst for that change for you?
Well, basically, I was working a lot. So I was doing pet sits before work and I was having to get to work at 8. So I was doing stuff early in the morning. I was doing pet sits early in the morning, getting to work at 8. And then all of my breaks, I was spent returning client phone calls, scheduling appointments, and then all my lunch hours, same thing. I was spending my lunch hours talking to clients, doing all that stuff. Sometimes I would go do a pet sit and come back, and then I'd get off at 5, and then I would go do client consultations. And just kept on going. I was burning both candles. I mean, it was crazy. And I started it to, just to kind of make a little money and to pay off some debt. And then it just kept going and going and going. And it was just amazing. And so that's when we, after doing all that, it was like, okay, maybe we could do this full time. And so that's when my husband and I, we sat down and we ran the numbers and we had a plan. We had a business plan. We decided to get out of debt. We paid off any debt we had, and we had a few months income saved. That way, when we made that transition, we weren't focusing on money because, last thing you want is paycheck to paycheck and you're like have no corporate money coming in. And so I wanted that not to be a stressor or anything I was worried about. And that I'm so glad we did that because then I wasn't worried about money because, like a salesperson, if they're thinking about money, then it comes across, so you don't want that to be a problem. And so that's one of the things we did. And the planning really worked. And then I was able to, when I put my 2 weeks in, I never looked back. And it's just been, we just like, it was like open the floodgate, boom. And then a couple of years later, my husband joined me full time. And because I kept saying, here, do this, here, help me with this, help me with this. And he was already like, okay, working his job and then doing things. And so, but it was great.
Now, do you remember your first client?
Yes, I do. Josie, she was a long-haired Dachshund. When we first started getting the word out, we just put flyers out at some nice neighborhood out in this area. And so she had responded to the flyer and she became our first client, Josie, the sweet dog. And it's, we did some dog walks and then, drop-in visits when she was out of town. And then through that, we kept getting more clients in that neighborhood and just kept growing and growing from there. Just, just telling people about what we did. And So it just one person after another. But yeah, Josie was so fun, and we had to keep up with her.
How have you marketed over the years?
Yeah, we're finally at a point now where word of mouth and referrals are pretty much getting to be most of our business. But obviously when we first started, we had that shoestring budget. So we were, passing out flyers and talking to people. And of course our website, a lot of people find us through that, just doing a search engine result. But we have found consistency and montage of efforts to really work. We utilize a lot of the networking events, whether with the chamber or there's a couple of independent networking events. And it's definitely something you have to consistently do. It's not something you just do one time and that's it, because you want people to keep remembering you. Because like if you just went one time, if somebody goes to that person and says, "Oh, do you know a pet sitter?" They'll say, "Well, there was somebody here one time. I don't remember who they were really." But if you consistently come, if you consistently go and meet people and you build that relationship, you have friends, connection. And whether it's not a direct referral, it's going to become like an indirect. So like they have clients. So a lot of these are business people, but then they have a pool of clients. And so those people, you'll be surprised. They may say, "Oh, I'm going out of town and my friends, they bailed out on me and I don't know what to do." And they may be telling that they're, that person. And then they'll say, "Oh, I know somebody that goes to our networking event. Here's her information." And so, and then it's been great. And you have so many opportunities. And of course, now there's a lot of virtual stuff. For me, I do a lot of passing out my cards, and whether it's people I already do business with. You'd be surprised. People will be more than happy to, you're already doing business with your hairdresser, your nail person, you name it, anybody you already do business with, you tell them what you do all the time and you give them your cards and they'll have some of your cards out, or they'll just know who you are and they'll be referring people. I've gotten those too. And it's just being consistent. I used to do Mary Kay. I was a beauty consultant years ago. And one of the things that we were supposed to do was 5 income producing activities a day. So it's kind of stuck with me. And so I'm always, whether I'm wearing my shirt, whether I'm wearing my business shirt or a name tag or always looking for opportunities to tell somebody what you do, passing out a card or just, giving them a smile, talking about their animal or, and of course, obviously your great experience with, your clients, then they'll be referring people, which is why I think being consistent again with, like social media is important, because if a client does refer you, to someone and they go to your social media and it's like 2018 was the last post or whatever, they're going to go, "Oh, okay. I wonder if they're still around, are they still there? Are they active? So that's where, being consistent, is so important. And those little things make all the difference. I mean, just, liking something consistently, not just one time and you forget all about it. And then you go back 6 months later and go, "Oh, that didn't work." Well, yeah, because you only did it one time, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. I know it's so silly, but it's just you just got to keep doing it. And man, it's like I felt like finally after 15 years, we're finally getting like referrals. I mean, that's just like word of mouth. "Oh yeah, so-and-so referred me and I found you from this," or, and of course the search engine and stuff too. But so it's been really exciting, because I always ask, "How did you hear about us?" We always like to know what marketing efforts are working. And so I'm able to start tracking, and I'm starting to put down more and more, so-and-so referred us, so-and-so referred us.
That idea of going, "Oh, well, I went to that one event one time. Good. My marketing check. I have my checkbox. I'm marketing. I'm done." It's like, no. You have to go again and again and again and again. It's that mentality of like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? Like, well, did you do it again? It's like, oh, do I have to? Yes, you have to do it again. And being consistent, because it's keeping that mindset of, okay, they might not need me right now, but when they need me in 6 months, I want them to remember my name, and I want them to be able to tell my name to somebody else. And so it's having this much longer view of that process instead of this immediate one-time I do this one thing, I get immediate payout. You may, most likely, you're not, but staying top of mind and reminding people, because they're going to forget your name. They're going to forget your business name. They're going to forget what you do. They're going to forget your face. That's fine. Go again and continue to put this stuff out there so that they don't, basically.
Yeah, and it's true. And, with pet sitting, we offer multiple services and it's so vast. So you can get really creative and you don't have to say, your same old pitch every time. You could just one time talk about cat sitting. And then next time you just talk about birds. Next time you talk about dog walking. Next time you talk about this. And then what happens is you kind of become known, oh yeah, that's the pet person over there. Because a lot of pet sitters, when I do these things, there's no other pet sitters there. So, hey, people know me.
Yeah.
And you kind of begin to, the more you talk about it, it's interesting. You start attracting, people are going to be remembering you. Because I get a lot of people, oh yeah, so-and-so. When I'm also a part of a couple of groups, Facebook groups locally. And so I kind of monitor those here and there for if someone says, hey, is there a pet sitter or whatever? Because of those efforts, people are already tagging me. I'll by the time I get in there, there's already like 10 tags. I'm like, yes, hello, thank you. But it's just that consistency that did that. But it's just been like, this is like awesome. I'm like, they're doing all the work for me.
Right. No, it is. Talk about heartwarming, make your day kind of thing when you find one of those posts. And you're like, who tagged me in this post? Oh yeah, I play. Oh great. Yes. Thank you. You're awesome. Right. Because you're right. Like it's this, like, I can't be marketing myself 24/7. I can't. So I need to put my efforts, need to focus my efforts where I can. And it will pay off, right? People will start recommending you when those things come up. They will. That will happen. And it's one of the best feelings in the world because you didn't ask for them to do that. They love you so much and the services that you provide that they're going to tell you more people about you. And you can't ask for better clients and you can't ask for better marketing for that.
True. And of course I also give back naturally too. So like when I'm in those forums too, people will say, hey, I'm looking for an electrician. I'll quickly I'll just comment on my electrician. So I'm constantly active too and giving them helpful resources. You'll be surprised how people say, oh, I'm looking to adopt a puppy or whatever. And I'll put a quick resource in there. And so I'm, without saying anything or doing anything, just naturally doing things. And those kind of things will start to come back to you too, because people will remember, oh yeah, they were, they'll start remembering you because you were also helpful too with other things.
Yeah, it's not just pet sitting stuff. It's not just the pet sitting advice. It's not that you're just being a good citizen of your area, right? You're invested in the community, and you're just being a community member at that point, taking care of other people and meeting their need. When I hear consistency and what we're talking about here of like long-term view, these little things that are going to pay off. I'm thinking about that sounds like it takes patience. That sounds like it takes a lot of patience. How do you find that patience in that? And does that come easy to you?
No. Well, honestly, because when I left my corporate job June of 2012. So I wasn't able to do a lot of the networking until 2012. So I was able to do some things remotely or, participate in some things, but I was working a full-time job and doing the pet sits. So my time was obviously really limited. So I did more like passing out my cards or things that I was able to do while I was out and about. Always wore my shirt and just the little things. But basically, once I stopped thinking about it or worrying about it, that's when it just started happening. Because, a lot of times if you go to a networking event, you're like, okay, well, I've talked to 3 people and and I should be hearing back or something. Well, it doesn't work that way because a networking event, and there's different types of networking events. It doesn't have to just be the business kind. There's like a couple local networking. Obviously I think there's even some pet sitters. You can connect with pet sitters and they'll refer people to you because you'll be busy and you can refer people to them. So there's different types of events, but not having that expectation. Once I stopped thinking about that, that's when it was like, it just kind of takes the pressure off. And so I'm not waiting. So that's where the patience comes in, because I'm not thinking about it or waiting for it. I'm just doing the efforts and going about my day. I'm passing out that card when most of the time that's the thing, the beauty of pet sitting versus, I've been in sales before. I was beauty consultant with Mary Kay, and I used to have to actively try to get people to, I would give them my information, and I was the one doing a lot of the engaging. But with pet sitting, I have found people come to me. Like I have my brand, my business shirt on, and they'll come to me and say, "Oh, do you do pet sitting?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then we have a conversation. Or if I see a cute dog, we have a conversation. So I always try to, I always have my Top Dog shirt on, or I have a magnet on my car, and so you just be surprised. And then people will come to me, and because I've talked about it or whatever, people will come to me and say, "Hey, do you have some cards? I want to, I want to pass out your cards." And through those networking events, a lot has come out of that, and people have approached me to, do a Facebook Live with them and interview me. And so that's another shout out for our business. I didn't even have to do anything. They're coming to me. So what's happening is, through that time and that effort of just being consistent and being out there, it's going to happen. And so because I'm not waiting, I'm not worried about, because I'm not patient. My husband will tell you, he's like, "You're too impatient." So when I stop waiting, then I can deal with it, because I'm just going about my day and doing my thing and just consistently doing something. And then it comes to me.
Stop waiting, and the patience just comes naturally. And you're not waiting anymore because you've removed the focus, right? That's not the focus anymore. The focus is just is being a good citizen and doing your job and being great at it, and trusting and knowing that this other stuff's going to happen, and you know that. And so watch pot never boils. Why doesn't it boil? Well, it takes for long. So because you're sitting there watching the seconds click by, and you're going, "Okay, is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Is it now?" Like, okay, like, no. I'm gonna focus on the dinner at the end and the good pasta that I'm gonna have. The pot's gonna get there when it gets there. I know I'm gonna have dinner later. Like, it's this removing the focus, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't, because your focus is on something else and something more important, really, not those individual things that we can get so caught up on. No one likes having to think or even talk about what happens when a dear client passes away. This just happened to Megan and I, actually, one of our longtime clients. Her name was Jules. But Pet Perennials made it really easy to send a gift directly to her owner. They have this really awesome direct-to-client gift service that takes the effort completely off of us and ensures a thoughtful, personalized sympathy gift that reaches our client or our employee. All gift packages include a handwritten card, colorful gift wrap, and shipping fees across the U.S. and Canada. Now, they just launched a brand new offering of an array of milestone gifts and greeting cards that can be sent to celebrate special moments people share with their pets. If you're interested, as a business, register for a free account to receive their discounted pricing on their packages rather than paying their consumer prices. Since the service is leveraged as an as-need basis, there is no monthly or annual obligation or minimum purchase a month. Learn more and register using petperennials.com/pages/GPS. And enter the referral code PSC when you register your business. You will then be given a unique coupon code to save $2 off any packages you would send in your first 90 days. Thinking back over 15 years in business, what are some things that you have found that have worked really good for you, or some of the best practices that you implement?
Always going that extra mile. So if there's something, that you kind of notice, maybe that might be off, just mentioning that, or just doing little extra things, just bringing in something, doing something extra. Those will be noticed, and people will really appreciate that. If you saw, like we have one client where we noticed, there was a little spit up on the pet bed. And so my husband pulled it out and cleaned it up the best he could and put a towel over it and told her, because she'll be home that, a couple hours later. And she just was like, so thankful for days. It was just like, thank you so much. And so just doing those little things. we have found to really pay off, and people, just doing those little extra things that you're not really told to do. I think, people, this just kind of extra that you just kind of do.
I'm thinking to something that is so, it might seem so insignificant, but if you know your client's getting home late at night, turn on the porch light for them, or leave a light on the inside of the house for them. Like these little things where it's just it literally takes you no extra energy to flip a light switch as you're on your way out the door, but they like, that is so huge to them, because that means, like, that tells them not only were you thinking about the pet, but you were also thinking about them, their safety, making sure that they were cared for, and putting the focus on them in addition to their pet. Like, that just it shows that you're concerned for the whole thing, right, from top to bottom.
It's just amazing what just doing one little extra thing, or even writing a little note, how that's been a big deal for people. And they remember that. It's just kind of, because we don't usually see their clients, Right. And so you try to do little things to be there when you're not there, when they can't see you and everything. That's one little thing I would say, is just always going that extra mile, and doing extra things when not, it's not, like you said, it's not going to take you extra time. Flip the light on as you're on the way out, because, they're coming home late. Just little things like that makes a big difference.
Now, I'm sure after 15 years, you've probably had some really interesting experiences. So what's been one of the crazier ones or most interesting ones that you've come across, or that's happened to you, I guess?
Yes. Well, of course, there's several, but one that definitely comes to mind is I went to a pet sit to do the morning visit, and I get there and there's cars everywhere, all in the grass and the driveway. So I'm like, okay, this isn't right, because obviously that wasn't, the setup. So I get to the house, and of course the door's unlocked. And long story short, the son had a party, and there was people everywhere. I'm walking over people. It was kind of crazy. And the dogs were outside. Of course, they're not supposed to be outside. Yeah. So when I get there, they're looking at me like, can I come in? Why am I out here? What's going on? So it was so awkward. I had to get the dogs in, and I'm doing the routine with the other pets, very awkward. And I'm just, slowly going through this routine, and there's people there. And I was just like, ah. So obviously, of course I called the client and said, definitely can't do this, when someone's supposed to be there. I think the son was supposed to be in and out. I would never see him, but yeah, I saw him.
And a whole bunch of other people too. Hi.
Yeah. Oh, it was great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you talk about, that awkward is probably not sufficient of a word to describe that kind of interaction.
Yeah, I said some things. I was like, really? I kept going, really? Like, oh my gosh, like it was just like, and of course, the animals are like, what's going on here, So, but, again, you have an experience, you learn with every policy and everything you learn. This was early on in my pet sitting. So when they said, oh, you may or may not see the sun, well, now we don't do that. So we don't do any pet sitting, any shared visits or anything like that. And we try really hard not to, if anyone's going to be in and out of the home because of those reasons, for safety. And, because probably now I probably wouldn't even have gone in there,
Yeah.
I would have called, like, hey, there's like 500 cars outside, But I was thinking of the pets, and I'm like, oh, I got to get to the pets. What's happening, and
yeah.
But it was crazy. That was wild. But, I definitely learned from that experience. And
yeah. It talks about, how it just takes one situation like that to completely change how you operate, and put in new policies and procedures so that you're, thinking about your health and safety and that of the pets as well.
Yes, with every experience, definitely helped to understand our policies and why we have certain things in place. And some reinforced others. And, obviously in 15 years of business, we've experienced every possible scenario you can imagine when trying to either share a visit or someone may or may not be there. And so that's why we just try really hard to just say, fortunately, we just can't do that. We just have to keep consistency and keep only us being the only pet care provider. And just, it makes all the difference.
I was also curious, what are some of your favorite resources or tools that you use in your business or that you've enjoyed over the past 15 years?
Obviously, Time to Pet. That's a great one. They're obviously a sponsor of the podcast too. They're wonderful. We do credit card only, and it's very easy to do all of our invoicing, and it's also QuickBook integrated. So it's been such a great resource that we use, even with the client communication. There's a conversation piece in there, and we can easily send pictures and updates. So Time to Pet for sure. Another great resource is by Kate McQuillan. She has a marketing planner, and it's basically a social media content calendar for the whole year. And it even includes some blog ideas and stuff. It's petbusinessowners.com is where I got it. And wow, that has been so great because just thinking about what to post is it can be overwhelming. And I usually get in a rut. And so that's where this has really helped keep things kind of flowing in different types of topics and keep the variety of what I post. And so that has been a great resource. Buffer is what I use to schedule all of my social media post to various platforms. When I get those pockets of time, I can just quickly go in and schedule. Like I've already got the whole month of November. This is November here, but I've already got like the whole month done. And so I don't have to worry about that right now because I've got them all scheduled. So that's been helpful. I'm a member of PSI, Pet Sitters International, and they have like a monthly toolbox that they send, and it has social media images and articles that you can share to your clients and calendars. And that has just been so helpful. Again, coming up what to talk about, content and stuff. And they also have like the social media images are fun. So like if it's Pet Diabetes Awareness Month, a lot of times they'll have a graphic with that and everything that I could just quickly share to our clients with an article or something. Mm-hmm. And lastly, I would say Pet Perennials is another great resource we use. They do pet sympathy cards and gifts for our pet clients when our pets pass away. Obviously, that's a hard part of our business, and so we usually send like a little heart candle with a card, and they will actually handwrite the card and everything. But with everything happening and we're so busy, I could just shoot them a quick message, and they will get a nice gift with a handwritten card to the client whenever their pet passes, and that has been so helpful to us. And then it gives them something personal, at a moment that they really need it. And there's a variety of gifts too, so we can choose something that's more custom for that client. And it's very reasonable and they're very prompt. So that's helped me a lot.
Well, and I love how each of these resources is taking something off of your plate and making you able to focus on the things you want to focus on. The social media aspect. I know that that's something that Megan and I struggle with, is like, okay, what do we post tomorrow? Oh, what do we post today? Oh, I forgot about today's post. What do we I know I'm supposed to, but what do I do? And to have these kind of resources that go, here you go. This is what you're going to post. Like, great. Awesome. I didn't want to be that concerned about it anyway. I can focus on these other things.
We also use OmniCall Receptionist, and that's been really helpful with our phone calls. I think I mentioned a little bit about that. So I'll I'll leave the link on there for OmniCall receptionist, because you can use it. We use it all the time. We have it connected 24/7, and then they can live transfer a call to us, but you could just turn it on and off like after hours. I mean, it's completely customizable, like however you want to, what you want them to say when they answer the phone for you, what information they take. So that's been so helpful.
Yeah, because that was my next question of how customizable was it? But it sounds like if you can give them a script and get information, and they, information about the business and that kind of stuff, like, wow, how awesome is that to be able to provide that for your customers too? Like, not just your peace of mind of going, okay, I don't have to worry about phone calls because somebody else is taking care of that, but also knowing your clients are getting taken care of when you're not able to, or whenever when you're unavailable.
It's really helped with new leads too, because that was my biggest thing when I had calls coming to my cell phone. You get all the spam, because I get so much spam calls. I mean, the hang-ups all day long. That was stressful. There's nothing more stressful to saying, "Hello, Top Dog Pet Sitter, how can I help you?" and then click, or it's a sales call or whatever. So I don't get any of those types of messages anymore. That goes to them. And then especially the new leads, that has been huge, because when someone new calls, they'll answer professionally with your business, and they know our service area too. So if someone's not in our service area, they'll tell them we don't service that area. I don't have to deal with calls for, say, boarding or grooming or services we don't offer. They'll tell them we don't offer that service. So I'm not having to get those calls, because that was another thing on my plate. I would be getting calls for boarding, and then I'd have to call the person back and say, "Oh, we don't offer boarding, but here's some resources," which was fine, but it was another thing I had to do. So now they can handle all that. So, and then they capture, where they're located, how many pets they have, dates of service, just basic stuff if I know. And so that makes all the difference. Capture, like you said, customizing exactly how you want it. If you don't want them to tell them anything or say anything, that's fine too. They can just take a message and send you the message. But it really helps, capturing those things.
And that idea, thinking about like those days where you're really busy and you're like, I don't have time for this phone call. Hello, how can I help you? Right? It's like cut all that out. Send it to somebody who's going to be really nice every single time.
Absolutely. And even if you get that random call early in the morning, because that's another thing. I mean, even though I'm up early doing pet sits, I always, I have 10 o'clock as when they send me the calls. Okay. So, if someone calls at 6 o'clock in the morning and they want to tell me all this stuff, they can tell my receptionist. Because I'm still getting ready or whatever,
Yeah, absolutely. Again, pulling back more control for your business and going, these are my terms, these are my conditions, and this is what I need to keep my sanity and have healthy boundaries. Christina, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I can't tell you how much I've loved learning about your experiences and how you've set up those boundaries and your focus on the little things and consistency in your business over time, and how it's paid off and how you're starting to see that payoff in your business. If people want to get in touch and learn more about you and maybe pick your brain for more about how to be consistent and what that looks like, how best can they do that?
You can go to our website, topdogpetsitter.com. Shoot us an email, info@topdogpetsitter.com, or give us a call, 678-665-2213. And my receptionist will either pass you through to me or take a message.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
When it comes to setting boundaries, it really helps to focus on the mindset and the little things. The mindset that the change is needed. The mindset that says these boundaries are important to me and I must hold them so that I can be a better, healthier, more vibrant person, not just in my personal life, but also in my business. And then the small things, looking at every nook and cranny in our lives and in our business for small things to start doing right now to build up those boundaries, whether it's having a call center, take your calls, or whether it's having off hours or notifications turned off from certain times. Each one of those is another brick in the wall of boundaries that we all need in our lives. We want to thank our sponsors, Timed Pet and Pet Perennials, for making this week's show possible. Check out the show notes or head on over to petsitterconfessional.com/147 to see the notes and all of the links that we talked about in this week's episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening, for coming and showing up every single week. You have no idea how much it means that you share, that you're engaged, that you're involved in this wonderful community. Megan and I will be back again soon.